Over the next hour, you'll hear from Sonna and her guests on how you can become more empowered through life's most challenging situations. Sonna's journey through her own transformation has inspired her to awaken you to your divine power.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Up Close and Empowered. I'm Sonna Johns, your host, and my intention is to inspire you to awaken to your true power because I believe that we are all so much more powerful than we really know. And this is all about accessing our power. And today I am thrilled to have another inspiring conversation with someone who really is a special guest. I'm so excited to have her here today. And she's a guest that embodies the spirit of empowerment and is on a mission to make a positive impact in the world through education. So this is a little different spin on this show. I haven't had anybody in this realm, and I'm excited because, education is a very important topic in our world and especially impacting young minds. And that's what we're going to talk about today, along with some other life lessons as well. But our special guest, her name is Sunaina Sharma, and she is a dedicated national board certified educator. And Sunaina's journey from India to the USA has been nothing short of profound. Her academic achievements, including getting her master's in education at Pepperdine, along with completing her undergrad in law and teaching credentials, reflect her commitment to personal growth and societal growth. Now, what sets her apart? What makes her different? Her emphasis is on nurturing the social and emotional skills of young minds. She understands the importance of guiding the next generation through life's complexities. And we all know that this is an ever changing world. And she teaches them resilience and understanding. She has dedicated 9 years of teaching elementary kids. And as we all know, educators play a crucial role in our future. I mean, it totally shapes our future. Our teachers are so important. And Sunaina is a shining example of someone who takes this very seriously. But she's actually taken it a step further. So she has expanded into her own podcast, and it is a chapter venturing into the world of positivity, spreading joy, personal growth, and just really trying to get self improvement out there in the world and how to navigate through life's challenges. So today we're going to dive into her journey, her background of, living in or being grown up in in India, and her structural society and her family, and how it was a little bit strict, and she's going to tell us about that and how she kind of pivoted to finding herself through. Well, we'll find out exactly how. But she's also going to talk about how teaching has played a pivotal role in her personal growth. And I'm really excited to have her today so she can tell us a little bit about her background and the journey and why she's so passionate about teaching and how this has impacted your life and led you into podcasting. So welcome
Yeah,
to the show, Sunaina.
just wanted to say thank you so much, Sana, for having me. I really appreciate it. I love your positivity and everything you post on social media as well. Just shedding a light of joy, waking up to all these incredible quotes and all the stories. It's beautiful, and it really makes the world go round. So thank you
Thank
for that. And thank
you.
you
That's
for
why we
having
connected, because we're just
me.
so aligned. I mean, this is no coincidence. By the way,
Absolutely.
we've talked before. For all of you listening, I was on Sunaina's podcast, and we had a great little podcast, and we really, just really hit it off and connected. And I believe that everybody meets for a reason. So I'm so glad to have you on Voice America show.
Thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so my journey, I have been, as you mentioned, teaching over 9 years. And so I'll start off with my undergrad. Undergrad, I was confused, like every kid is, figuring out their life. I was a finance major, I decided to pursue finance because my brother, being 5 years older, I was following his footsteps, and my dad being a CPA. So I was like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe finance is my path. Then after 1 year of finance classes, I'm like, this is not for me.
Mm.
I
I
decided
don't
to,
blame you.
yeah. So I ended up taking a business law class, and the teacher who was teaching that class, intellectual property law, I just fell in love with her. She was so engaging. And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, if I ever become an educator, I would love to be as engaging as her. She made it so interesting. She added her own personal life experiences while teaching all the cases. And I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? I love this class. I really want to have her as my teacher for other classes that I wanted to take in law as well. So I switched over my major and fell in love with it. And then once I graduated, I thought, oh, okay, so the next step is to go to law school. Started studying for my LSATs and realized, you know what, this is not for me as well. Took the LSATs, ended up getting my score. I was very close to applying to law schools. But then I realized, I'm like, you know what, I something doesn't feel right. And I believe in everything happening for a reason, and the universe always has a plan. So spontaneously, it was a Memorial Day weekend. I was just driving around in Calabasas, and there's an elementary school in Calabasas called Viewpoint Elementary. And I'm like, you know what? Driving around by myself, no idea where I'm going. And then I pull up into the school. I always had this vision of teaching elementary school students, and they just make me so happy. They're so sweet and just, innocent minds. And I just love being around kids. So I thought, you know what, let me just walk in and see if the principal's in
Oh
spontaneously.
my
And guess
gosh.
what? Turns out the principal was actually there in the admin office. I walked in and I was like, hey, is there any way, do you have a few minutes? I just really wanted to share my journey with you. And she's like, yeah, absolutely. Come on in. So sat with her, told her how I'm just going through this phase where as an attorney you make X amount of money, and as an educator there's this
Hmm.
huge gap, and I don't know what to do, I don't know what to pursue. And she's like, you know what, why don't you come in and observe the best teachers. I have the best third, fourth, fifth grade teacher, and just get a feel for it. And I think you'll get your answers then. And I thought to myself, okay, you know what, that's great. The following week, I observed all the teachers, woke up super happy in the morning, and I realized, you know what, this is my calling, and this is what uh, I need to get my credentials. Right after that, went back to CSUN, got my credentials. Then I was like, you know what, I'm not stopping. Let me go to Pepperdine, get my master's in education.
Oh my
So
gosh.
decided to go with all of that. And I taught simultaneously while I was finishing my master's at this really nice school in Encino called Amelita. And one of the teacher was retiring, so that was my first full-time opportunity. And then I ended up getting a call eventually to teach at an incredible school called San Jose Highly Gifted Magnet. It's in Mission Hills, and it's one of the only highly gifted programs in all of LAUSD.
So what does
And
that mean?
so what that means is these students are brilliant, and they have to score 99.9% on an exam with a psychologist in order to get into the program. And
Hmm.
I will be honest, I had no idea what I was getting into. I was very nervous starting my first year off as a teacher. I look really young, so all the parents are like, you're teaching the kids, you look like a kid yourself. So
Yeah.
there was a lot of I had to build my confidence and work on my self-esteem. And there was just a lot that was on my plate. And I'm like, you know what? I can't do this. There's no way I can do this, because this program is incredible with these students who are, their IQ is above 144 and beyond.
What were
Um,
the ages of those
and
kids?
they were 7 and 8 years old. So
Wow.
I was teaching second and third graders. So my second graders would be my third graders the following year. So you really connect with the students and you create an amazing bond. And then I realized, as I taught them for all these years, I'm like, they're brilliant. But at the same time, these kids need to really be taught social emotional skills. So that
Mm.
was my major focus. Um,
Now I got it. Now I understand.
yeah, their parents were, really involved in their studies and coming in and out of the classroom. Incredible parents who went to, amazing schools themselves, such as Harvard. And, a lot of their kids were already brilliant. Parents were teaching them all these things. I was teaching them all of these project-based learning projects in class. And the number one thing that they were lacking was social emotional skills. So that's where I really, really came into the picture, teaching them how to be humble, be empathetic, because these are the skills that will have pretty much our entire life
Beautiful.
to benefit us. So yeah, that's how my teaching journey started. And then after, I just realized last year, I'm like, you know what? as much as I love teaching, I want to continue this as well, but maybe at another school. But at the same time, I really want to, again, get into podcasting to maybe make a difference on a larger scale. And realizing that it's not just kids who need support, adults need a lot of support as well. So that's where I decided, that's when I decided I also want to make a difference on social media, YouTube, uh, and a little bit about fear. I'll dive in quickly. I started this journey actually years ago a little bit, and then I would delete my videos because I was so fearful of, oh, what
Mm,
are people going to think? And so I decided now, especially working on myself, I'm like, you know what? Fear is
yes.
here now. You just have to go for it, and so many doors open for you. So here I
And you're
am.
so passionate about it. So it's just flowing. And I've seen your work even from when I knew you before months ago, like even your posts and everything is just, you can just tell it's in alignment with who you are and where you are, which is beautiful. And the fact that you taught these kids and you were teaching them these specific type of, dealing with life and challenges and empathy and all of these things, how do you feel that how are you bringing this into your podcasting? What is your audience and who are you reaching out to?
Yeah, I'm actually reaching out to people who need, life advice or a support when it comes to social emotional learning or anything and everything in life on our day-to-day basis, just being able to regulate our emotions. I mean, we go through that on a
Mhm,
constantly on a day-to-day basis. So I'm
mhm.
open to anyone who is struggling with just relationships, struggling with being single and finding a partner, or just needs the positivity, such as quotes.
Right.
I just love quotes so much. And I also realized, I'm like, you know what, every time I wake up in the morning, I would look at quotes myself to get started with the day. And I would also focus so much on positive affirmations. So I'm not the only one seeking this. We have so many people in the world where the ultimate goal is happiness, because hardships are going to come in life, but at the same
Mhm.
time, you can really have a positive mindset. Not easy. It's not easy for anyone,
Not
but
all the time.
not all the time. And just
Mhm.
really allowing yourself to recognize that, you know what, I am going to have hardships, but I need to appreciate the moment. I need to be grateful. So I just want everyone to also be on the same journey, because it's a beautiful journey.
Right, and I think that you're impacting parents as well, because with your experience, you would also have another effect with parents because they all care about their kids. Everybody cares about our emotional stability of our children, our kids, our teens. So I think that would be something that would be really impactful as well. So tell
Yeah.
us a little bit though, because I know that you had mentioned that you were brought up in a very strict upbringing. So, allow our listeners to kind of know what it was like growing up as Sunana and, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I have amazing parents, mom and dad, and I have a brother who's 5 years older. We moved in the 90s to the US. 98, sorry, 98. And I was 7 years old, and I, spoke fluent Hindi. Um, I still remember second grade, didn't really know any English. So I had a lot of kids asking me questions, and I was just looking at them like, I have no idea what you're saying. But yeah, it was a journey. It was definitely a journey with my parents, and they tried their best to raise both my brother and I with what they know and from what
Mhm.
they're familiar, especially being Indian, as you mentioned, strict background. Strict meaning, growing up, I would say there were moments where I felt like I was that rebellious teenager where I wasn't really able to express myself. Coming from a strict background, my father always saying, "Hey, don't straighten your hair. You're damaging your hair." Or why do you need to wear makeup? And parents just being overly protective and
Mhm.
making sure that their kids are around a good environment and all of that. And I think I had to learn to make decisions on my own, and it's challenging because a lot of times when parents are strict, they feel that they're what the decisions they're making are the best decisions. But at the same time, just learning to really grow on your own is also very important. And
Mhm.
you know, my parents would always say, "Oh, you know, you're staying with us, and then culturally, once you get married, that's when you move out. Prior to that, you don't move out."
Mhm.
And I had to question that. I'm like, why am I going to move out only after I get married? What about learning about myself and
Right.
having my own place, having my own freedom? Hello, we're in America. And my parents are like, no, we're in America, but we're very traditional. So I think just challenging that was not only hard on me, but it was really hard on my parents too, because they weren't used to that. And when I had first moved out, I still remember and again, I stayed with them till college and I moved out after my master's. So I was 29 years old at that time, right?
Oh, oh,
And
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
I didn't move
Yeah.
out like 17 or 18. I
Mhm.
moved out
That
29.
sounds like me too, because my parents were kind of like that too. So
Yeah.
they were born in this country, but Greek and Armenian background, and
Yeah.
I wanted to live on my own, and they're like, "Why? Why would you live it? No, you need to stay here." I mean, I wouldn't say
Yes.
they were ultra strict, but they were very old school. And no,
Yes.
you stay at home until you
Right.
get married. And you know what? That's what happened. I tried to move to Chicago to take this big opportunity at an agency out there, and I gave it up. I stayed at home, and then I ended up getting married, and that's when I moved out. So I had to share that
Yeah.
because I find that it still exists. I think that still exists, but it's definitely kind of older thinking,
Yes,
right?
yes, definitely. Old school mentality. More than strict, it's just, that's what they know. And
Right.
now that I'm on this journey of working on myself, before I used to have a lot of resentment, thinking like, oh, my mom and dad, like they don't understand the American culture. But at the
Mhm.
same time, uh, really putting yourself in their shoes is very important as well, because being compassionate is essential to really understanding the other person. And
Yes.
they tried their best in their own ways, and that's why I'm very grateful. But at the same time, culturally there are some challenges, but I feel like I mean, parents will come around because they love you so much and they will understand. And that was my situation, where in the beginning parents were very strict and didn't understand certain things, but eventually they're like, okay, you know what, it actually worked out for her. She bought her own condo and she is successful. And
Yeah.
I'm happy. I'm happy for her. And eventually they realized that, you know what, this is life now. This is where we moved to America, and it's not it's not like we're living back home. And even in India now, it's changed so much. So um
Right.
yeah, that was my initial upbringing.
So would you say that you really didn't have a voice then? You just kind of listened?
I was very rebellious, to be honest.
Because you do have this personality, like this really strong, empowering, energetic personality. I can just
Yeah,
feel it and see it in you. So
yeah.
I'm trying to think, like, how was she growing up in this family having this kind of personality? Like, there must have been a clash. So
Oh yeah, there was definitely a clash. My dad and I would have conversations back and forth, and there were triggering moments where he's not understanding me and I'm not understanding him. But again, over time, I had to realize, okay, you know what? Take a breather and relax,
mhm.
understand where he's coming from. And, now I talk to him about everything. I just actually got off the phone with him and I told him, "Oh, I'm going on a podcast." He's like, "Wonderful. Make sure you breathe, make sure you
Ah,
speak
I
and think,
love it. I
always,
love it.
always lecturing me and always advising me as I'm still 10 years old. But, parents, they love you so much. So that's what's going to happen.
That's kind of nice though, him telling you to breathe and take your
Yeah,
time. I mean,
yeah,
that's really nice. That's really nice.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
I'm really glad that you said that about the parents, and that we have to have compassion and be accepting, even though they it isn't always the ideal circumstance. Because think about the anger and the resentment that people have that haven't really done the healing work and dived into that aspect of them, and they're quick to judge. And listen, our parents did the best they knew, because their parents, it's just generational, as you know. I mean, their parents did the same
Yeah,
thing, and their parents and their parents and their parents. So it's
yeah.
like we have to look at the fact that right now in this lifetime, we are breaking the chain. There is more information on personal growth and spirituality than ever before. And everybody's awakening all over the world right now,
Mhm,
realizing that we can break the chain, meaning that
mhm,
we can stop some of the ways that some of these traditional ways of being raised are, and just kind of into a new way of being. What are your
mhm.
thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just thought about this as we are working on ourselves, we have to also be mindful that our parents, along with everyone else, they're also trying their best and they're also working on themselves.
Hmm.
We can't be so selfish, just thinking that, oh, you know what, this is um, I I am on this journey and they don't know what I'm talking about. But it's like, hey, their journey is different, and
Exactly.
their upbringing was unique on its own. So just being mindful of all of these things, it's crucial in understanding your family, your background, your upbringing.
Hmm.
And I think I'm really getting more and more fascinated by my upbringing more and more now. I'm just digging deep and learning about my mom and dad and why my dad is the way he is, why is my mom the way she is, and it really teaches you a lot and it brings you so much closer to them as well.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And also that's part of the healing process too. It's part of
Feeling
our evolution, our soul's evolution to really understand our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors. All of that is all a wealth of knowledge that is
mm-hmm.
really part of us,
And
And I
recognizing and understanding things are never going to be perfect.
right.
We as human beings are not perfect. So just being really mindful of that as well and understanding that everyone's trying their best, everyone's trying to live a good life, and just enjoying those moments where I go and see them like once a week. Um, just watching movies together or like listening to songs together and just really
Mhm.
diving in and appreciating those moments. I'm just trying to be really careful and absorbing all, like really carefully trying to absorb all that in, because it's not always going to be that way, right? So we have to really be grateful.
Right, right. Very grateful in the moment. I hope my one son listens to this show. No. But sometimes, I mean, I have a great relationship with my kids, but
Yeah.
sometimes, they don't understand that we do
Oh,
things out of love
yes,
and
yes.
we're with blinders, like we just do things out of love, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
very true. I mean, it is important to savor those moments and everybody is on their own journey. We all grow in different ways. Nobody's better than anybody else. We're just on different paths, learning
Hmm.
different things. And some people
Hmm.
learn a little quicker, some people are a little slower. But the fact that we're all trying and learning is really what's most important.
And just going through our experiences, right? And learning from our
Right.
experiences. Everyone has such a beautiful story and we all have ups and downs. So understanding that and carrying on, and just happiness. Always come back to happiness.
Yes, yes. So what was let's say, what was one of the most difficult things that you encountered before really deciding that you wanted to do this podcast, focus on this and focus on impacting the world in a positive way? Like, what was the main thing that said, I think I want to start using my voice?
Yeah, really good question. As an educator, I was, connecting with parents and all my students and teaching them on a day-to-day basis. And I was part of this magnet team. And as much as my team was wonderful, I just really felt as if I didn't have a voice. And, for 9 years, not really being able to be yourself at times during meetings and not being able to share your true authentic self can really hold you back in certain ways. And then
Mhm.
you start having pain, it starts showing up in certain ways, like tingling sensation and all of that.
Right.
So I realized, I'm like, you know what? I can again switch schools, get into another program as much as I love the kids and the parents, but the school environment, the work environment, I wasn't too pleased with in certain ways. Again, there were also amazing, amazing teachers, but there were also, it was really challenging because our program was separate, being in the highly gifted magnet program. Um, and then after that, I realized after I left that position, I thought to myself, I really want to be able to share my journey and I want to be able to make a difference and share that we all have self-worth. We all are trying our best in a lot of ways, and being put down is so many times we're put down in our lives for certain reasons, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a friendship, and we hold on to that. And I think for me, that was the pivotal point where I was like, you know what? I want to be able to share my journey and start putting myself out there. I'm not going to let anyone hold me back. I'm not going to keep thinking like, oh, if I post this, what is this person going to think about me? Or what is this person going to say about me? And, what are people going to be saying behind my back? I'm like, no, at this point, it doesn't matter. And it's been a blessing because the people that, again, you as well, it's been a blessing because I've been connecting with a lot of like-minded people and people who are very supportive. Friendships where people are just so, all my friends are incredible, and they're like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Keep going, keep going. And I think that keeps me going every single day. And that's how I ended up getting started.
Yeah. So you broke through the imposter syndrome. You didn't care. You finally said, I'm just going to be my authentic self. I'm going to use my voice, and I have a gift to share with the world. And the gift is really your heart, your
Mhm.
compassion, your empathy for the world, which is a beautiful thing. And I know, like, without a doubt, like, you're just going to get, your voice is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger out into the world. It truly is. So we're going to take a break here in a few minutes. But before we take the break, I just wanted to let everyone know, if you need to reach out to me to give me any feedback or would like to work in any way, you can reach me at sonnalife.com. It's SONNALIFE.com. I'd love to hear from you. I get feedback all the time from the show, and that's why I do this show, because I love to raise awareness and, again, inspire people and give them hope in their journey of life. So after we take this break, now we're going to pivot. We are going to pivot to a whole different direction. We're going to talk about friendships and how personal growth can impact those around us in a positive way, but also those that maybe choose not to, support that. What are some of the things that we've gone through with our friends that have been disappointed? Law of attraction, as far as when we're in a certain place, who are we attracting? Relationships, life lessons, all of these things that I'm fascinated that you're talking about, because you're obviously like a lot younger than I am. And I love that the youth is, again, like spreading the word, getting out there and really, speaking of positivity and personal growth and compassion. So after the break, we're going to dive into some more personal things, stories, things that we can share that can help our listeners possibly with what they may be going through. And so we will be back right after this short break.
Welcome back to Up Close and Empowered with Sonna Johns. Have a question for Sonna or her guests? Join us on the show at 888-346-9141. That's 888-346-9141. Now back to the show.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Up Close and Empowered. I'm Sonna Johnson. I'm talking to Sunaina Sharma, and we're having a deep discussion about education, impacting young minds, making a positive difference in the world. And now we're going to talk about the deep life lessons. And I would love to have Sunaina just share, like, where do we even begin? Because I know that you're like an old soul, even though you're young. And I know there's so much going on in that mind that I would love for you to share, some of the things that you've learned that have really stood out in your mind.
Yeah, definitely. The number one thing that pops up into my mind is, I've learned over the years to be less judgmental. Um, Coming from a place of, again, Indian background, upbringing with a lot of judgments, you carry that with you. And when you view the world and when you're making friends or you're in a relationship, you can come off extremely judgmental. And what I mean by that is, growing up when I would make friends, I as soon as they made one comment, let's say they made one comment that didn't resonate with me or my values, I would judge them right off the bat rather than giving them a chance to prove themselves. I was, really focused on that, and I can't say it was 100% it was 100% negative, because we as human beings do have to admit that we are all judgmental to a certain extent. But at the same time, again, life lessons such as being more compassionate has been a big part of my life, and really putting myself in other shoes and understanding, okay, you know what? This person's life story is different. Mine is unique on its own. So their upbringing is different. My upbringing is different. So I can't, my way is not necessarily the right way. And I think recognizing that and understanding that is so important, because at times we can let the ego come into the picture
Mhm.
and think like, oh, you know what, my way is the right way. And um, this is how life is supposed to be. These are the friendships I want because of my upbringing. And it's beautiful to have your own values and know what you want in friendships, but I do have to say it was such a learning curve for me. And yeah, a big learning
So
curve for me.
if people weren't on the same page, let's say as you, how did you handle that? I mean, I know that you're so compassionate, you're empathetic, and you try to understand other people, but don't you think that there's a certain line where, if somebody really is out of alignment with you, it doesn't mean that, it's, whatever, you're cutting them off forever, but like, sometimes, friendships, we'll get into that in a second, but sometimes we kind of separate based on the fact that we're on our own path. Would you
Mhm.
agree?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, but I think the younger self, I would cut people out. Um,
Mm.
and I would just be like,
Oh, so
goodbye.
you were like, that's it.
I'm like, peace, not talking to you
Yeah.
ever again. And
Oh,
I think,
okay.
and I think I had to learn that you're not going to necessarily align with every single person, but you can distance yourself. You don't necessarily have to ended on bad terms. And I think for
Right.
me, being as vocal as I am, I feel like at times I would be like, "Oh, this is what you did to hurt me. Goodbye." And that can also
Right.
lead to not really having a closure when it comes to
Mhm.
friendships. So I think I had to learn and understand that, hey, you know what? I don't have to be best friends with this person, and they
Right.
don't have to come to my wedding. It's fine.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly.
yeah, I can just say goodbye. And there are different phases when it comes to friendships as well. Some friends are just work friends, and some friends
Mhm.
are very personal, where you share your deep, dark secrets with. And I think I had to learn that along the way, because a lot of the times I would have deep conversations with, I just love having deep conversations with everyone. So people do feel a connection, and they do want to gravitate
Mhm.
towards you, especially being as positive and, spreading that positive energy. But at the same time, understanding now at this point in my life, okay, you know what? This person is great, but I don't need to be BFFs with this person, and that's
Right.
okay as well.
Right. So you're setting a boundary, a personal
Boundary.
boundary, and it's okay. You don't have to completely cut them off, but maybe you just distance them a little bit and you pick
Exactly.
and choose like when you do connect with them or not, because again,
Mhm.
everybody is on their own journey. I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, like I have friends that aren't on the same path as I am, but I love to see them. I love to go out and meet them for dinner and that kind of thing. But
Exactly.
there is something to be said about people that are like kindred spirits, like you and I, like where we are really on the same page with personal growth and spirituality. And it's beautiful when, we attract our tribe.
Mhm.
We totally do. And the
Mhm.
more we are, into our growth and our value system, that just attracts the same kind of people and then you connect. But it's not to say that you can't, have other relationships and just,
And yeah, definitely. And I would say, just digging in and understanding your core values. Like for me, for the longest time, it was always loyalty.
mhm.
Um, if
Yep.
whether it was in college or after college, like number one thing I would always come back to would be loyalty.
Mhm.
I felt because I'm such a loyal person, I always wanted friends who were loyal as well. And if someone wouldn't be loyal, if I gave them many chances, then to me, that would really hurt me and bring me down. And it was such a learning curve for me, because I realized, you know what? You do have to be selective with your friends as well. And instead of just, it doesn't mean you have to close your heart, still be open and be able to accept new people into your life. But at the same time, ease into it. No need to rush.
Right.
Um, good people deserve good things, and good things will happen. Just reminding yourself that. And also the energy that you put out is so important. If you have that negative mindset and you're nitpicking about every little thing, I realize that it's only going to attract negativity into your life.
Mhm.
So just really shifting from that mindset and focusing on the beautiful aspects of life will attract incredible people into your life as well.
I agree. And loyalty is so important. Loyalty and integrity are really the most important thing to me, and I know they are to you as well, at the top of the
Yeah.
list for sure. So
Hmm.
so let me ask you something. What if I had a situation, curious what you would say about this. I feel like when you're friends with someone for a while, like a long time, you know each other's soul. You know what kind of person that is. Now, you may not have the same likes and have the same, be on the same exact path, but you know that person's soul. So, what about when somebody or a friendship just kind of detaches because one person is going in a different direction and the other person is kind of going their own way for whatever reason, but somehow there was a disconnect that just kind of happened energetically. And I guess what I'm getting at is
Yeah.
what I find is really difficult for me is when we know somebody at a soul level, we know what they're like, we know their values, we know their integrity, we know their loyalty. Like, why would you not want to still stay connected with each other, even if your belief systems are different? Spirituality, religion, whatever it is, if your belief systems are different, okay, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Like, you know each other's soul. So
Oh,
that's
yeah.
where I have a hard time. And I'm curious, like, what you think about that.
That's it's a wonderful point. I think, for me, being Indian, it's funny because growing up, even now, all my friends are non-Indian. And as much as I uh love speaking Hindi and connecting with all my Indian friends as well, but I feel like the religion aspect of it, the where you're from and your upbringing, at the end of the day, as you mentioned, it's the soul to soul connection. So it
Mhm.
doesn't matter what your upbringing is, what your religion is, either you connect with someone or you don't. And I will tell you also, at times you will drift away from certain people and you will miss them because you know
Mhm.
that you had such a deep connection with them. You know that person is great. And that actually happened to me not so long ago. During the pandemic, I drifted away from one of my really close friends and I loved her so much. And, we've been friends since college and she's an incredible human being, but we just had major differences and somehow misunderstandings happened and they just built up,
Mhm. Mhm.
where she's not at fault and I wasn't at fault, and we had this clash and a little bit of a blame,
So you both kind of just both decided to kind of part? Like, it just
um,
kind of happened?
I wouldn't say it kind of happened. There was some sort of an argument that took place, and then we
Okay.
drifted apart.
Okay.
It was, and after that happened, and we didn't speak for a very long time, like over a year or two.
Mhm.
I missed her every single day. I would talk to my mom about her and I would say, "Oh my goodness, I was so close to her and her parents are amazing." And like I felt so accepted in her
Right.
household. She's one of my Jewish friends and they do Shabbat every Friday. So I would go over sometimes and I just really felt very connected to her and her family, her brother.
Mhm.
I just felt like, as you mentioned, soul to soul connection. And my mom would be like, "Listen, if she's meant to be in your life, you guys will definitely
Right.
connect." And my mom
Mm.
would always tell me that. And and somehow we reconnected. One time she sent me a picture of her and and then I just did a podcast with her last week or the week before, and I love her so much again. And our friendship is exactly as it was. Nothing
Wow.
changed. And we didn't even and both of us just said, "Hey, do you really want to talk about the past?" Nah, who cares? Like, whatever. We were so
Oh,
done.
I
Let's
love
just let
that.
it
That's
go,
great.
and it just
And
worked
that's how
out.
it should be. Like, when it's meant to be like that and you just kind of reconnect, you reconnect. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really not that hard, but I really feel like when you have a history with someone, there is a certain sense of loyalty and integrity and respect, regardless if you drift or not. And I think that, for me, and, I know I'm speaking for other people that may be listening, because I know that, with a lot of people growing in, like in personal growth and spirituality, a lot of people have lost certain friends or people have just kind of gone their own way. And it's really just part of the journey. And
Mhm.
I don't feel that there's any judgment. To me, it's an observation that people are just growing in different directions at different times in a different pace. And at times it can be hurtful, of course, and you miss
Yeah.
certain friendships, but it is what it is. So I know I'm
Yeah.
going off on a tangent, but I think, friendships are really important. And I get messages from my own friends and some of my clients that I coach. And, a few of them now, like all of a sudden they have, as they are starting to really get on this journey of, you know, personal growth and awakening to their true power, they're
Mhm.
losing some of their friends for many years, and they're
Yeah.
like, they don't get it and it's hard for them, but I know how it feels because it's happened to me, but it's going on now because
Mhm.
there is an acceleration in personal growth right now.
Yeah, and I think as you mentioned, personal growth, when you're on this journey, if someone's energy just doesn't feel right, it's
Mhm.
okay to not associate yourself with that person. When you're working on yourself so much and you you look at your circle of friends, and if there are certain people outside of that circle that are a little bit questionable, I think it's okay to say goodbye, or say
Mhm.
goodbye again in a peaceful way, or no need to even say goodbye, just distance yourself slowly.
Right.
And I think that's what I've been working on, where surrounding yourself with positive people and like-minded people. And again, as you mentioned, there can be a lot of differences. I have friends who will put me in my place and say, that wasn't nice, you shouldn't have said that, and I'm like, yeah, I shouldn't have, I'm sorry. And like,
Mhm.
my friends will really challenge me in such a healthy way. And I think that is a beautiful thing, being able to have friendships. It's not always jolly, there will be moments of disagreements, and that's completely
Yeah.
fine as long as it's healthy.
Exactly, exactly, and it's about having that support, like, again, knowing that person so well that even if you do have a disagreement, the support's gonna be there,
Hmm.
just
Totally,
yeah.
totally. The support will always be there, absolutely.
So what do you do to stay positive? Like, when you wake up in the morning, are you always I know that you're grateful, I can already tell that, but, sometimes days are not always gonna go the way we want them to go. So, what are some of the things that you do to keep your frequency high, to keep your energy high and in a space of love?
I would say the number one thing is being out in nature. I think that has really helped me in my life. And again, I'm working on consistency at the moment. And I know on our last podcast we talked about meditation and
Mm,
how you gave me some great tips on meditating. So getting started on that. But I would say positivity again is a choice. And at times I'm not positive. There are days where, as you mentioned,
mhm.
where, I'm crying and I'm like, why? What things are not going right? And, I can talk about it now in such a calm way, but there are frustrations. There are points, times where I do get angry and frustrated, like as everyone does. But I think, it's a lifelong journey to be able to, take care of yourself and learn about yourself. And I, I can't say that, all of a sudden, I can't say that, oh, you know what, uh, I'm doing things right on a day-to-day basis. I still
Mm,
don't know. I still question those things, and
right.
I'm learning as the days going on, and I'm learning about myself every single day through my friends and families, and uh, through reading. So, daily practices, I would say, again, going for a walk, hiking, as I mentioned, and there are other, and I love taking bubble baths. So that's like my number one thing where I'm like, de-stressor.
Self-care.
Oh, yes. Like
Yes.
after teaching, coming home, relaxing, lighting up a candle, bubble baths, and just sitting in the jacuzzi sometimes. So those are the things that I love,
Right.
and just appreciating your own company, recognizing that, okay, you know what, I also need alone time right now.
Mhm.
I didn't realize that for the longest time. I was always around people, always talking to my friends.
Yeah.
And I think now I realize, okay, you know what, just being alone is also such a good feeling. And and that's when you're with yourself, and that's when a lot of great creative ideas come to you too.
100%, and that is where the power is. That is where the power is when we are able to sit with ourselves and actually enjoy our own company. That is empowerment. It truly is. I mean, I had the greatest learning experience through COVID when I was in solitude for several months and basically meditating and self-reflecting for days.
Mm-hmm,
And I
mm-hmm,
mean, I don't I'm not one that has to be around people all the time, but about 5 years ago I was around people continuously, but I'm not necessarily sure that's really, how my life has been all the way around. I mean, I don't mind really being by myself. I love people, but it's really important to spend that time by yourself. And when you learn to do that and you're comfortable and you find your go-tos like your salt bath or your
mm-hmm,
going in nature or the meditation or
mm-hmm,
whatever,
mm-hmm.
that way that's taking care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And when you're able to do that, you're able to handle life's challenges more than ever. right? Which kind of leads me into this responding versus reacting. Like when you are triggered during the day, how do you, we're in a constant self-awareness, because that's what I was hearing you say as you were just telling me a little bit ago, that you are in the self-awareness every day. It's a journey. We are learning every single day. I mean,
Yeah.
by the minute. I mean, we could learn from a telemarketer, we could learn from the store clerk, we could learn from a friend. I mean, it doesn't matter. We are
Yeah.
constantly learning, and we're being triggered sometimes. And so how do you handle those triggers?
I'll be completely honest, I'm still figuring it out. So, and we all are, So triggers for me, I'm just recently learning about myself to the point where I'm like, why did that trigger me so much?
Yes.
When this person said this, why did it trigger me so much? Like, why did
Mhm,
it hurt me so much? And I just felt this rush of anger and I just responded in a mean, nasty way or whatnot. So I think just r- it's a lifelong journey to understand and figure out why certain things affect you, whether it's your past or whether it's a comment that maybe it's a misunderstanding. And I
mhm,
think I'm learning to communicate in a calm manner, especially when I do get triggered. In a partnership at times, it can be challenging because you're around each other a lot.
mhm.
And uh, there are certain comments made, and you might misunderstand the other person. So that's where I'm really learning to communicate in a calm way. And again, things are not always perfect, and we are trying to figure out. I am trying to figure out what works for me. It's about practicing nonstop. Uh,
Mhm.
every time you get triggered, okay, you know what? I'm triggered. What do I
Right.
do at this given moment? Let me take a deep breath and then
Mhm.
respond. And that's something that, again, I'm
Right.
practicing on a day-to-day basis. It's not easy. It's a skill that I have taught a lot of my students, where they would get out of the classroom and say, Miss Sharma, I'm really triggered right now. I just, I'm working
Ah.
on this project, and, this person did this, and I'm going to take 5 deep breaths and I'm going to come back in. So they would take these deep breaths, come back into the classroom and say, I'm feeling fine now, Miss Sharma. I can continue my project. And I'm like,
Oh my
I'm
God. I
teaching
love
them
that.
these
So
great
that's
skills.
That's what you talk about when you say you learned from your teaching. Your
Yes.
students were doing that. Oh my God, that is beautiful. I love that
Yeah.
you shared that. Like, can you
And
imagine this
they
little
were
7 and
applying.
8-year-old saying, Miss Sharma, I
Yeah.
have to take a couple deep breaths. Oh, I
Oh, yeah.
just got triggered. I just got triggered. Oh my God, how adorable, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm changing lives in this manner. They're applying this and their parents are emailing me. Oh my goodness, you're doing magic in the classroom. What's going on? And I'm like,
Right.
wow, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm teaching all these things, but it's so important. And the reason why I'm on this journey is because we also have to apply it. We can teach these things, but at the same time,
We have to be it.
we have to exactly.
We have to be it. We have to talk the talk and walk the talk and talk the walk. We have to
And
do it
it's not,
all.
and
We have
it's
to do
not,
it all because
yeah,
actions do speak louder than words. And especially
definitely.
with kids and, even my kids and, people see
Yeah,
how you are, not really what you say, but your actions, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, so those triggers I think are indicators obviously of a deeper issue or like you said a
Mhm.
misunderstanding. And I think that that's a time when people could say, "Hey, maybe I need to self-reflect. Is this something that somebody said to me in my childhood? Or is this something that somebody said to me in my past relationship?" Because a lot of times it will surface. But the good thing is that when it surfaces and we do get triggered, then we realize that we have to acknowledge it, observe it, and just like release it. And then we know, okay, so when it comes up again, well,
Mhm.
we're thinking, okay, that's where it's coming from. This is about me. It's about taking
Yeah,
responsibility, right? Because we always like
yeah.
to blame everybody else, but it's about
Mhm,
taking responsibility.
mhm.
And then also, really quick, as we wrap up here, boundaries. I mean, don't you think boundaries are really important? Like if we are resentful in a relationship where something is really upsetting us, that is an indicator that we need to set some type of a boundary?
Yeah, and I think again, it always comes back to taking responsibility, you understanding what your boundaries are.
Mhm,
How
mhm.
are you going to set boundaries when you don't even understand your own boundaries? So I
Right.
think that's as you mentioned, very, very important. Understanding yourself first. Okay, you know what? This is who I am and this is what works for me. And he's a different person and this is
Mhm,
what works for him. And boundaries along with communication, just communicating your thoughts, your feelings, and who you are as a person, and being able to share your insecurities.
Right.
And I think sometimes, again, we uh, keep a lot of things to ourselves because of our ego, and letting go of that ego and understanding, okay, you know what? This is the person I want to end up with, and this is my future. So I need to get my act together and own up to who I am as a person, and be able to get rid of that ego. And it has to be from both sides. It can't just be
Right.
one-sided. It has to be an equal, again, partnership. And it takes a lot of communication. And communicating is not easy.
Mhm.
Communicating your feelings and being able to really showing your true authentic self to someone,
Right.
especially if you've been hurt before. It's not an easy thing to do. So I would say the number one thing for people is to be able to be honest. And even if you do get hurt along the way, hey, at the end of the day, you were your true, genuine self.
Exactly. Exactly. Sunana, where can people find you? I know you have a you. In fact, let them know where they can listen to our podcast because they may want to go back and listen to that.
Yeah, yeah,
So on your
definitely.
YouTube channel.
Yes, on my YouTube channel, I have about 14 podcasts at the moment, and I'll be also uploading this one as well. My YouTube channel is called Peaceful Zen Talks, all in one, and my Instagram channel is the same exact as it's Peaceful Zen Talks. And I'm getting on Apple, Spotify soon as well, so just putting myself out there, just getting started in this journey. And yeah, thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Oh my
having
God. I'm
me.
so glad that you were able to be on the show. It's just been so nice talking to you and having this deep conversation, which we could go on forever, right?
Yeah.
So I do want to thank everybody, but I did want to let everybody know about next week's show because this is going to be an interesting one. It's from tragedy to love to purpose. I'm going to have a husband and wife on. They have a movie that was made about their story and a book. And it's really a profound story. I'm really excited to have the show. I've never had anything like this type of a topic on. So join me next week on that show. That will be very, very interesting and a beautiful story. And also, I am speaking in a sensory summit. And if you go on my Instagram or my LinkedIn page, you can register for that if you would like to sign up for the summit. I'm excited about that. And I just want to thank everybody for being on the show and Sunana for sharing a little bit about your life and your lessons and how you're impacting the world and continue to impact the world. And just thank you so much for being here. I want to thank all of my listeners. Please, I am very open to your feedback. Send me a note, send me an email, whatever you would like. And I will look forward to seeing you next or talking to you. I feel like I'm seeing you, talking, seeing, feeling, whatever. I will see you all next week on this channel. Thank you so much. Have a great week.
Thank you.